From stories across the globe to stories here at home. This is the National News Broadcast. A very good evening to you. I'm Sharifa Tahir.
Good evening, I'm Lakshita Singha. We start off by taking a quick look at the headlines for tonight. Former Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne remanded until the 30th of this month. The President instructs for the reinvigoration of the vocational training sector. The Premier says an expeditious inquiry will be conducted into contradictory ideas that emerge through school textbooks. Rice stocks available for purchase at reasonable prices and without shortage from Lanka Satosa. Kazakhstan plane crash kills 12. 88 persons escape death.
We move on to those and other stories in detail now. Former Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne has been remanded until the 30th of this month upon an order given by Colombo Additional Magistrate Shalini Pereira. Former Minister Dr. Rajitha Senaratne was arrested by the CID this evening whilst receiving treatments at a private hospital in Colombo. This order was given after the Colombo Additional Magistrate visited the hospital and conducted an observation. The warrant calling for the arrest of the former minister was issued on the 24th of this month, and the CID from that day onwards launched search operations to arrest him. Dr. Senaratne, through his attorneys, submitted a motion to the Colombo Magistrates Court yesterday calling for the arrest warrant to be recalled. However, later the motion was withdrawn. The CID inspected a number of residences belonging to the former minister. However, it was reported that he was not available at those locations. Dr. Senaratne was admitted to the cardiology unit of Lanka hospitals at Narayanpet at around 7:30 p.m. yesterday. When the case pertaining to the controversial white van press conference was taken up for hearing before Colombo Chief Magistrate Lanka Jayaratne today, the Attorney General's Department notified court that Dr. Senaratne was hospitalized after the warrant was issued, has not been arrested even as the case was being taken up for hearing. Deputy Solicitor General Dilip Piri stated in court that since Dr. Senaratne is suffering from high blood pressure and stress, the hospital doctors had informed the CID that it is not suitable to get near him. At this point, the magistrate stated in open court that she needs additional time to study the investigatory report presented by the CID. Therefore, it was decided to call for a hearing later. Meanwhile, upon an order of the Colombo Magistrates Court, the two suspects who were arrested in connection with the white van press briefing were remanded until the 6th of January.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has instructed the relevant officials to reinvigorate the vocational training sector. The President gave this directive at a discussion held with officials of the Ministry of Skills Development, Labour and Labour Relations and heads of institutions this evening. The discussion was held at the Presidential Secretariat. The President instructed the officials to create a renaissance in the vocational training sector by fulfilling their responsibilities on introducing highly skilled individuals to the local and international job markets. Thereby, it is necessary to speedily introduce courses of study that can meet with the requirements of the local and foreign job markets. The necessity to expand training opportunities in self-employment in order to uplift poor communities was emphasized. It was also noted that a change in attitude towards the vocational training sector needs to take place amongst the youth. The President pointed out the importance of planning study courses that will attract students and guarantee professional esteem. The President pointed out that the most important sector of the country is agriculture. Focusing his attention on the absence of degree awarding courses, the President also stated that just like the medical and engineering fields, veterans and researchers in agriculture are also needed for the country. Thereby, the President clarified on the importance of rectifying such lapses when introducing new study courses. Now, the Department of Motor Traffic says once the application for obtaining a driving license has been submitted, steps will be taken to notify through SMS the exact time at which the license can be issued after the application is processed. The President conducted a surprise observation visit of the Verahara office of the Department of Motor Traffic yesterday. The President stated that the procedure of the department needs to change within a month. Acting Commissioner of the Department of Motor Traffic, Upali Jayasekara, said the issue that prevailed on their part was the inability to specifically give the exact time as to when the driving license will be ready. Therefore, applicants were usually advised to collect their licenses after 2 hours or after 2 p.m. The acting commissioner said in order to minimize inconvenience to the applicants, they are in the process of designing a system in which applicants can be notified via SMS.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa says an expeditious inquiry will be conducted into contradictory ideas that emerged through school textbooks. The Premier made these comments at the All-Ireland Dhamma Schools Competency Evaluation Ceremony. The ceremony was held at the Perakum Mahavidyalaya at Iratte Periyakulam in Vavuniya. Certificates and prizes were awarded by the Premier for the students who emerged winners in all-Ireland Dhamma School competitions this year. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said the student population of the country's Dhamma schools are the generation to take forward the Sinhala Buddhist national identity of the country. The Premier observed over the past few years many lay Buddhists distanced themselves from the temples. The Premier further stated they saw the devastation of the country brought about by the distancing from Dhamma and the Mahasangha, which was Buddhists frowning on Buddhists themselves, as well as the Sinhala identity being frowned upon, which ultimately became a fashion. Prime Minister Rajapaksa also stated this is an era in which caution needs to be adhered to when it comes to the content children are educated with. He observed non-governmental organizations which run on the funding of foreign earnings have systematically intervened in the education system of the country. The Premier noted certain content that distorts the mentality of the student population published in textbooks. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa said everybody should understand that there is a powerful movement seeking to divide the country and destroy the families of the Sinhalese, the Tamils and the Christians. The Premier alleged this movement begins from the preschool stage itself. Thereby, after a few years, the mindsets of the Sinhala people change automatically. The Mahasangha, parliamentarians and a number of invitees were in attendance.
Now, the Ministry of Internal Trade, Food Security and Consumer Welfare says currently Lanka Satasa is in storage of 5,032 metric tons of rice. The public can purchase these stocks of rice from the network of Satasa outlets in the country. Lanka Satasa states there is absolutely no shortage of rice in the country and the public need not have any undue fear. Chief Executive Officer of Lanka Satasa Dushmanta Totavatta says consumers are able to purchase a kilo of red rice for 84 rupees and a kilo of samba for 85 rupees. He further states no quota has been imposed on the quantity that can be purchased. Therefore, consumers can purchase any preferred quantity. The Chief Executive Officer further states by this move they intend to increase the supply of rice in the market in order to control the increase in price.
96,373 dengue patients have been reported throughout the year so far. The highest number of dengue cases have been reported from the Colombo district. The majority of patients were reported in the month of November. However, the Dengue Control Unit states in comparison with November, there is a relative drop in the recorded number of cases in the month of December. In November, 21,511 dengue patients were reported, whilst in the month of December, as of yesterday, 11,183 patients were reported. Last year, 51,659 suspected dengue patients were reported. The signs and symptoms of dengue are high fever, headache, joint and muscle pain, red patches on the skin, vomiting and loss of appetite. The condition occurs as dengue fever, dengue hemorrhage fever and dengue shock syndrome. Around 44.1% of the dengue cases are reported from the Western Province. 19,567 patients are reported from the Colombo district, whilst from the Gampha district the number was 15,197. In the Kandy district, 8,445 patients were reported, while 7,765 patients were reported from the Kalutara district. The number in the Jaffna district was 7,458 patients. Potential dengue breeding grounds are containers and space where fresh water gets collected. Surveys have revealed that dengue mosquitoes also breed in unused tube wells and toilet bowls and even in the trays at the back of refrigerators. It is important to make sure that water does not get collected in flower vases and gutters and other areas in which water can get collected. It is likewise important to have fish who consume mosquito larvae in areas where mosquitoes breed. The proper disposal of waste needs to be adhered to. Health authorities state the dengue crisis can be eradicated only through proper understanding of the disease and by ensuring cleanliness in the environment consistently.
Now, State Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya says vouchers for the purchase of school uniform material and shoes will be issued from the 2nd of January. Speaking at a public rally held in Ruwanvela yesterday, State Minister Ranjit Siambalapitiya said there are 4.4 million students who are schooling, and since it is the government's responsibility to look into their welfare, school uniform materials and shoes will be provided free of charge. The State Minister further stated when they came to power in November, the tender to provide school uniform materials had not been called. He notes this is not an easy task as it takes around 6 months to purchase materials and shoes with a sense of transparency and without misuse. Therefore, steps were taken to issue 2 vouchers for material and shoes to be purchased, and it is intended to have these vouchers available when the new school term begins on the 2nd of January.
දැන් අපි සූදානම් දරුවන් දෙමව්පියන් අතර මේක බෙදා දෙන්න. අපි බලාපොරොත්තුව ඉලක්කය හැම දරුවෙක් අතටම දෙවෙනිදා පාසල් පටන් ගන්න තුන්වෙනිදා වෙන්න ඉස්සෙල්ලා තමන්ගේ නිල ඇඳුම් වවුචරය සහ සපත්තු වවුචරය ලබා දෙන්න.
Meanwhile, State Minister Vasudeva Nanayakkara says as a result of the tax concessions granted by the new government, a reduction in the prices of goods can be expected from January. He made this prediction speaking at a public rally held in Ahaliyagoda yesterday. State Minister Vasudeva Nanayakkara said the government is prepared to implement the decreased prices of goods. He further stated the government will put in place a plan to have vegetables available at concessionary prices. The State Minister explains vegetables in abundant areas will be transported to areas where there is a scarcity, and this measure will help bring down the prices of vegetables in the market.
An individual pretending to be an advisor to the president was arrested by the Colombo Crimes Division this afternoon. The suspect, appearing to be an advisor to the president, had threatened the principal of a prestigious school in Moratuwa. He was arrested upon charges of threatening through verbal abuse and impersonation. The suspect has been identified as Riananda Tisadiavis, who is a resident of St. Sebastian's Mawata, Moratuwa. He is a retired serviceman. The Colombo Crimes Division states the suspect will be produced before the Moratuwa courts tomorrow.
Several chairpersons appointed to a number of state institutions assumed duties today. Dr. Jagat Vellavatta, who was appointed as the new chairman of the Sri Lanka Insurance Corporation, assumed duties today. Dr. Vellavatta, who is a senior lecturer at the Department of Social Sciences of the University of Colombo, has contributed in the compilation of state policies over a number of years. He has also held the chairmanship of the National Child Protection Authority and the Foreign Employment Bureau. Dr. Vellavatta, who is also a social activist, is also a writer. Mr. Sudat Rohana, who was appointed as the new chairman of the Independent Television Network, assumed duties today. Mr. Nalin Nisanka has been appointed as the chief executive officer. Attorney-at-law Lalit Pium Pereira, who was appointed as chairman of the National Lotteries Board, assumed duties today at the NLB office at Mudalige Mawata, Colombo Fort. Mr. Kingsley Ranawaka, who was appointed as the new chairman of the Sri Lanka Transport Board, assumed duties at the SLTB head office at Narahimpita today. A group of guests, including State Minister Dilum Amunugama, were present. Mr. Damitha Wickramasinghe assumed duties today as the new chairman of the National Vocational Training Authority at the Nipunata Piyasa in Narahimpita.
In the meantime, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, at its meeting held yesterday, decided to maintain its accommodative monetary policy stance. The press briefing to announce the decisions taken by the Monetary Board was held at the Central Bank, chaired by the new Central Bank Governor, Professor W.D. Lakshman, today. At the press briefing, it was announced that the Central Bank has decided on maintaining the standing deposit facility rate and the standing lending facility rate at their current levels of 7% and 8% respectively. The decision of the Monetary Board is consistent with the aim of maintaining inflation in the
government is
4%
aware of the need for fiscal consolidation and in addressing long-standing issues in the fiscal sector while supporting the revival of the economy. In the monetary sector, we have seen credit flows coming to virtually a standstill. Monetary and regulatory measures taken so far, as well as the measures that are being contemplated by the government, including the moratorium on capital repayments of bank loans by SMEs, supported by improving business confidence, will result in an acceleration of credit flows in the period ahead. This will also help address the increased NPL ratios of the financial sector.
His Excellency the President is expected to announce the government's policy statement on the 3rd of January 2020 that will provide further clarity to the broad economic policy framework as well as the fiscal policy direction for the medium term, and also already announced tax relief as well as the proposed moratorium on capital repayments of bank loans for the SME sector are likely to provide further impetus to the economy. And the decision of the Monetary Board is consistent with the aim of maintaining inflation in the 4 to 6% range while supporting economic growth to reach its potential over the medium term.
During the last couple of years, we have been struggling to resolve those issues. So we would be continuing the resolution framework, and some of the companies are having difficulties to revive. So therefore, we have decided to take some regulatory measures for those, and finance companies such as the finance, that is too big entity, and also a lot of legacy issues. So therefore, we had already issued the notice of cancellation. But notice of cancellation has two parts. One is within 30 days, company need to submit the objections. After 60 days, we can cancel the license.
And in sports news, the Sri Lanka Army Para Athletics Championship commenced at the Sugatadasa Stadium today. The games have been organized by the Sri Lanka Army Para Sports Committee. The games that have been organized for the 22nd time commenced under the patronage of Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva. Around 700 participants across 11 regiments of the Army will compete in the games. The games, which will feature a number of track and field events, ends on Sunday. And that's all the stories we have for you tonight. We'll see you tomorrow at the very same time. Good night.
Good night.